Welcome to another edition of Comic Book Flashback. I'm Marvel Cross 316, and we are looking at the Amazing Spider-Man issue number 77. This issue came out in October of 1969, and as we look on the cover today, we have Spider-Man going up against the Lizard. Yeah, that's right. We left off last issue with Spider-Man and the Lizard fighting, but now we have a new element added to the fray, and that is the Human Torch. And so we left off on a cliffhanger here as we saw the Human Torch arriving on the scene last issue. And so now, how is the Human Torch going to play into all this as we continue to see how Spider-Man is going to be able to stop the threat of the Lizard as he's threatening New York City? And so remember from last issue that Spider-Man made a promise to Kurt Connor's family that he would not bring any harm to the Lizard, because we know for a fact that the Lizard is actually Kurt Connors. But one person that does not know that Kurt Connors is the Lizard is the Human Torch, and we know that the Human Torch is out to kill. He's pretty much here to put the Lizard. He's going to cook them pretty much with that heat of his. And so we'll see what's going to happen here as we look at this issue. But before we get started, we got to give credit where credit is due. And so this issue is brought to you by Stan D. Man Lee, who wrote this issue. We also have John Buscema doing the artwork with Jim Mooney, and then Sam Rosen on the lettering page. And we cannot forget John Romita, who also was responsible for the cover art. So now let's go ahead and continue the story here. We see Spider-Man pleading with the Human Torch to stop fighting the Lizard and that he needs to get out of here. But the Human Torch isn't making any sense to this, because the Human Torch thinks he's just helping Spider-Man out, because it looks like the Lizard is just on a mayhem spree here, just trying to destroy public property and everything. And so we see here that the Human Torch is going to continue his charade of throwing fireballs at the Lizard here, and Spider-Man's like, "Oh, what have I got myself into?" So Spider-Man tries to web up the Human Torch here, and he's successful in doing it for a time. But then, while he is talking to the Human Torch, we see the Lizard leaps right into Spider-Man here, takes him down. And then we see that the Human Torch fires another blast at the Lizard. So this issue is filled with a lot of action here. So once again, this is a very highly recommended action-packed story. I recommend going and reading it for yourself. It's awesome. It's a pretty awesome story if you love action. And so we see here that the Human Torch is continuing to follow the trail of the Lizard. See Spider-Man here. It's like, oh, what am I going to do? And so we see that Kurt Connor's family realizes that Spider-Man and the Human Torch are after the Lizard. And so one thing that Bobby, as we see here, he knows the identity of the Lizard. He knows that the Lizard is his dad. So he's going to try to find and locate Spider-Man and the Lizard. And so that's not good. We see that Bobby's putting his life in danger here as he's trying to locate the Lizard. So we see here that the Human Torch continues to fight the Lizard here, and the Lizard, scaling buildings. He is super fast, super cunning, and the main thing that the Lizard wants to do is make it to this waterfront. And if the Lizard can dive into the water here, then he will be pretty much unstoppable. So we see here that both the Human Torch and Spider-Man are blaming each other, like, no, it's your fault, no, it's your fault for him getting there. And so, oh, not again. We see Spider-Man webs up Human Torch's feet here. And so Spider-Man gets to the water tower here, and he realizes, you know what? The Lizard just mentioned that if he can get to the water, that will be his best opportunity to become strong. And so Spider-Man's going to remember that as we get to the end of this issue. We'll see how Spider-Man is going to try to defeat the Lizard. So we see here that the Lizard is now on this boat, and he's just tearing up this boat. And Human Torch is trying to stop him. We see that the Lizard dives into the water. The Human Torch tries to boil him to death. Spider-Man dives into the water. He thinks that the lizard has passed out, but the lizard has actually been playing possum this entire time. But we see here that the lizard does pass out. And so Spider-Man resurfaces and he tells the Human Torch, and he makes this up, that his spider sonic hearing heard that the Fantastic Four needs the Human Torch immediately. So this causes the Human Torch to leave the scene so that now Spider-Man is able to tackle the lizard on his own. And so here we go. We see this is how Bobby is going to get involved in this as he is now locating Spider-Man and the lizard. He notices them, and now he's going to follow them into this deserted cavern here. And so this is where Spider-Man is going to try to defeat the lizard here, but the lizard reawakens and he tackles Bobby. But one thing we notice here is that he's not going to try to hurt Bobby. As he's looking at him, he's like, he looks familiar. So we see here that what Spider-Man discovers here is he's going to try to use this dehydrating powder, and that dehydrating power is going to weaken the lizard, and it weakens him to the point where it transforms the lizard back to Kirk Connors. And so that is how Spider-Man was able to defeat the lizard this time, defeating him by the skin of his teeth. And so once again, Dr. Connors and his entire family are thankful to Spider-Man, once again asking if there's anything that they can do to help. But Spider-Man, again, is just a hospitable guy. He's not looking for any rewards. And he says, just keep your webs untangled. And so that's how we end this issue. And so now the main thing we got to worry about is, once Spider-Man comes in contact with the Human Torch is going to be pretty mad. So that's how we end this issue. I hope you liked it. And until next time, keep reading comics.